So I'm actually a reproductive biologist. I have specific training. My PhD was in fetal physiology, so I'm interested in understanding the relationship between pregnancy, fetal development, placental development, and how it impacts on postnatal disease risk. However, I am equally interested in making sure that everybody knows about this science. So it is our obligation as scientists and even health practitioners to ensure that our messaging to the public is accurate, full of facts, but also received. And it's equally important, and in fact, perhaps even more important, that this message reaches everyone. It does not sub-select for individuals that can understand the words that I'm saying, or even are literate enough to understand some of the papers that we publish. So this is really, really, really important. I think everyone can recognize the importance of this given the fact that the last 2.5 years we've been encountering this pandemic. However, we are not doing a very good job of it. We are doing actually quite a poor job of it. I'm going to take you through a little vignette about our story and what the stories are coming out of our laboratory, and I'm going to illustrate to you how, in fact, we can start to bring this science and health messaging to the public in a manner that may be more accessible. So, this is the question we ask in my laboratory. How and what determines our health and disease risk? We are principally focused on looking at chronic disease. Diseases like type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease. Those diseases that many of you are likely to say have something to do with our genetics, have something to do with what we're eating, and something to do with the way in which we live our lifestyle. So it has a combination of factors of what we can control, the environment that we live in, that'll impact on our disease risk. However, I bet you that almost none of you will understand also that there is a time in our life that impacts our disease risk that we do not remember, simply because we were in utero, or because we weren't actually formed as an embryo just yet. And so what we, in my lab, try and unravel is the contribution of this early life environment on how the early life environment sets the stage for later life health and disease risk. So what is early life? Well, most of you will probably think automatically baby, child, that's early to us, right? Because we are adults. Some of you might think about pregnancy, mother, maternal, also as early life. That is all true. What often we don't think about is before conception. Sperm, paternal impacts. That's actually the early life environment as well. In addition, most of us really discount the role of the father when we think about early life development. Largely, the male or the father's contribution to this early life environment is predominantly thought of as DNA, right? Genetics, which is true. But what you probably don't know is that sperm and seminal fluid also participate in the formation of the placenta. The placenta is the communication tool that the fetus uses to communicate with the pregnant individual about the nutrients and oxygen that it's receiving. And this information is really important in how it grows and develops. You also might not know that seminal fluid and immune factors actually influence the uterus in how it prepares for the acceptance of that embryo. So in fact, the early life environment has to include the paternal factors because they are equally important in determining fetal growth and development and offspring health and disease risk. So what we do in the laboratory is to determine what kind of factors influence early life development, and more importantly, how do these factors influence that early life environment. So really, what we do in the laboratory is to approach health and disease risk from a life course perspective at every single solitary stage of our life, because it's not linear, it's actually circular, right? So, we believe that supporting individuals that are pregnant and those that intend on becoming pregnant gives the next generation the healthiest start to life, and that it's a life course approach to health. And even more importantly, that it's a community approach to health. We together as a community must continue to support individuals, not just those that are pregnant, but those that intend on becoming pregnant, to ensure that the next generation continues to be healthy. So it's a community-based approach. So, did you know about this? Show of hands for people who already knew about this. A couple of people. So, I fail, right? I fail because I have been doing this for 20 years, right? Very few people know about this science because the traditional way of messaging to the public is this way, is showing you pictures of really flashy fluorescent racks in a laboratory and solutions being poured from one vessel to another that really only contain food coloring. Or we show you graphs and maps and numbers, but we don't actually engage with the public. So how can we do that? We designed a study where we believe that arts-based science and health messaging to the public can do this. And we did this in partnership with the Art Gallery of Hamilton. So, why use art? Art is emotive. It is accessible. You don't have to be scientifically literate to understand and look at and reflect on a piece of art. It inspires and empowers change. That is what we want. We want people to use our scientific and health messaging to empower change, change that will improve health and well-being. So this is art of creation. It is health advocacy. It is about the science of early life, but equally it could be about any science in health messaging. It is to promote health before and during pregnancy because we want to inspire our community. We want to inspire our community to give everyone a healthy start to life. So, this is our team. This is our Hamilton team. We have many international team members as well. So here I am here, but equally important are the two members that are with me, who are Jordan Chin, Sarah Dickinson from the Art Gallery, and we have the most outstanding art educator helping us through this and taking our pregnant participants through this process. So this is art of creation. We have 4 arms. We start with a focus group with artists. We want to know what artists think about this. We have art-based support groups with pregnant individuals from the city of Hamilton. We also are creating art responses to our science with professional artists in the city of Hamilton. And we will be showcasing all of this artwork in a public exhibition. Our focus groups with artists revolved around questions: what did they think about using art to translate complex messages and biology and health messaging and using art as knowledge translation tools? Our focus groups with pregnant participants involve individuals who are less than 25 weeks pregnant. So they enter our program. They get a introductory lecture, information center section and workshop on this early origins science that I just told you about. Then they engage in art workshops, and the art workshops are there being held by our art educator and facilitator that takes them through artistic activities of expression. And at the same time, we have a team member telling them or asking them about what they think about these concepts that I just told you about, that early origins concept. They are also photographed during their sessions so that we can document their pregnancy journey, and they complete some surveys where we ask them some questions about themselves, but also about what they think about using art to convey complex messages. This is an example of some of the artwork that our pregnant participants have produced. You can see there that there's written words, there's drawings, there's feeling in every piece that they have donated to our art program, and that they have really embraced the concepts that we have talked about throughout their journey. The art responses to science are created by artists. We had an art selection where artists were invited to apply to be part of our program. It was very, very difficult to choose our artists, but we did. The selected artists then go and undergo the same type of workshop where they learn about the science. Then they were embedded into my laboratory where they saw experiments firsthand. So they actually saw those brightly colored vessels, but they had real scientific solutions in them. They got to talk to science, they got to talk to anybody that they wanted to discuss concepts, questions, and they did that over the course of a month. Then they were sent away to say, create something. Please create an artistic expression of the messages that you have heard based upon the scientific experiments and the scientific concepts that we've talked to you about. As I said, it was really difficult to narrow this down. It was strictly funding permitting because we want to be able to pay everyone for their time. We have 7 diverse Hamilton artists that have joined Art of Creation, and you might recognize some of those names there. This is what it looked like when they were in the laboratory. They saw all sorts of things to inspire them, and they got lots of interaction with scientists in the lab. These are some of their early art responses. They're not complete yet, but they're on their way, so we're really excited to see what they're going to produce. I might also say we don't necessarily just have visual artists. We also have a dancer. We also have a rap artist. We have lots of different types of methods to convey messaging. And then finally, what we're going to do is to bring it all together in a public art exhibition. It's going to begin at the Art Gallery of Hamilton next year in 2023. Put it in your calendar. Then it's going to move to a community center or a library because we want to make sure that this is accessible to many people in the city of Hamilton. It's also going to go to the McMaster Museum of Art. And it will really be a culmination of all the artwork that we have collected throughout Art of Creation and convey messages about the need for us to support this early life window to create healthy communities. Of course, I am a researcher. I need to evaluate this. And I think that in all stages, we want to make sure that the implementation of these methods is evaluated to make sure that it reaches the individuals we want it to reach, right? To make change. So we're going to evaluate our program. We've been evaluating it throughout, but at the exhibition, we will do it with the public. We will be creating art pieces where we can gather data about individuals attending the exhibition so that we can understand their feelings, reflection, and thoughts around the messages that they have received. So, I think it was Richard that said this. Hamilton's problems are global problems. We think that arts-based science and health messaging could be on a global scale. Everyone has communities that need to understand complex problems and issues and ideas, but in a manner that is accessible. And because of that, we have collaborated with at least 3 other institutions globally to take our exhibition out into the world, but we're currently looking for funding to do so. So I think it's time to think about cultural institutions for public health and science messaging. We have not really done that in the past. And the few times that we haven't really evaluated whether or not they've been impactful. So we're hoping to do this.